Hello, my name's John Thorne from the Silverstone Shooting Centre, and this episode about practical shooting we're going to be talking about optics. Hi, welcome back. Well, as you might see, my race gun, which used to be fitted with Vortex primary optic, is now a little bit bare. Since we decided to drop Vortex as our partner, we have decided to take the opportunity to try out some different optics that might be suitable for practical shooting and for long distance shooting as well. Before we start going down the scopes route, we thought we'd see if we can challenge Aimpoint as an alternative to a red dot. So today I'm going to be testing some of these. Now this is an Eotech, and it's a holographic sight. Okay, sounds very similar to the same sort of process as red dot, but it works in a very different way. It still has a reticle, illuminated reticle in front of you. It's parallax free, so it's both eyes open, but it's no magnification, so it's basically a standard sight. And rather than having a little dot in the centre of the screen of the optic, you can have different kinds of reticles, which will enable you, we hope, to have different levels of holdover. So in other words, you can have one reticle, no magnification, and have a holdover at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 metres with one reticle in shape. We think that's quite a valuable opportunity to try in practical shooting, where the distances you shoot can vary from 1 metre to 100 metres. Now, the other reason why we're looking at the red dot sight and not running glass at all is that a lot of the competitions in the UK are very short distance. Some of them very short, literally 5-6 metres, even a full-size target. Now that's primarily because historically mini rifle has been shot alongside LBP pistol, so it means the courses of fire have had to really deal with both. Now things are changing, and there are more courses of fire such as we have here at Silverstone at 100 metres, but we're still a rarity. So having a primary glass and a secondary optic on a canted mount isn't really suitable for a lot of the course of fire we shoot in this country. So rather than sort of try and force the issue, let's see if it works. Now I have done some testing between running a red dot on its normal position on the top of the gun, along with the canted position I normally run at, and it's pretty much inconclusive. I was half expecting there to be a clear aspect of running an optic on the top is much faster than the canted sight, but what I found is that because I've got shot the canted sight so often, I'm pretty level on both. So my original plan of drop glass, let's go for red dots only and magnifiers, has got a bit of a question mark over it now. But I'm still going to try as a concept, because we're going to try with the Aimpoint dot, and then we're going to run with one of the Eotech magnifiers. Now we have two here. We have one from a company called Samson, which is supplied by the same people as Eotech, and it's a 3.5 times magnifier. So it means the dot will simply be 3.5 times bigger in terms of your screen, which is the downside of running a dot, because a dot at 100 metres will be 3 times bigger when you put the magnifier on. So it may not be suitable, but I have shot an Eotech and a magnifier before on practical shotgun, and it worked quite well. I've also got the Eotech magnifier as well, which is, as far as I can see, roughly similar sort of thing, and it's 3 times magnification. And again, that mounts onto a mount that sits behind the dot, and you can try, and then hiding behind is you can be able to magnify and unmagnify quite quickly. And also then I'm going to try a couple of the holographic sights. This is the Holo sight, which is the more cost effective one with no shroud. See the outside, there's no shroud running outside, which is quite normal for military usage, but for practical shooting, that's what you see. You're seeing that process there. So we'll get some camera shot of this, and what you want to do is the least amount of coverage around as possible, to allow you a much wider sight picture. And we're going to try their super duper military style holographic sight, like these. Again, you can see it has a shroud running outside, but this one again is on a holographic sight, which is again a different way of shooting to some extent. So we're going to try all three. So a dot with a magnifier and 2 holographic sights, and see how we get on. I've got no preconceived conclusions of this one. Obviously I know I love the Aimpoint dot, and dots suit very well. I have an eye condition, which means that sometimes holographic sights star up, called a stigma. So that may affect my choice, but it won't affect really the choice what we can do in terms of firearms. But let's try some testing. We'll try testing at 10 metres and at 100 metres and see how we get on in terms of process. Right, okay, first off, I've got Aimpoint dot running the Samson 3.5 times magnifier. Testing hasn't been too bad. The dot is 0 to 50 metres pretty much anyway, so it's reasonably accurate from the gun here. And also I'm sitting here fairly accurately shooting rather than more practical style move around shooting. But what I'm going to do is I look down the scope, and you can see the target behind me here. I've put a couple of practice rounds up there. With the magnifier off, literally I can't see any lines on that at 50 metres at all. So if I basically put a round in, or a couple of rounds in, I'm literally aiming what I think is the middle, but I can't see any lines at all at 50 metres. That's quite deliberate on practical targets, so you can't see them. So I'll put a couple of rounds in and see where they go. So, round about here, that's the dot on. Now, the downside again straight away for the magnifier is that when it's moved out of the way, I shoot left-handed. So magnifier on, I'm okay. I took the magnifier off, and my whole sight picture of this side of the gun is completely obscured by this. Now, practical regulations dictate that you have multiple optics in your gun, but you can't remove anything on. So once it's on, it's got to stay on. Now, it may be less of an issue for right-handed shooters who are obviously shooting that way, so their sight picture is opposite, but it's still in the way. Also, when you magnify it, I'll put 2 rounds in again, same point. Now I can actually see the target pretty well. I can see the lines, I can see everything there, so it's going to make me more accurate, hopefully, but it's still basically magnifying the dot, so it obscures the target to some extent. So I'm a little bit out on the magnifier, I'm over here, but the grouping's okay. So the gut feeling for me is that shooting shorter distance with the dot makes a lot of sense in a normal position. But the idea of shooting shorter distance and then going longer distance could be quite time consuming. So if I go from one to the other, let's go, and again you wouldn't do this sitting down per se, try shooting it short distance and then with the magnifier on, see what it's like. So don't think it's any more or less accurate, but it's not as nice as I'd like it. With a bit of practice, I can see a magnifier and a dot working quite well, and I think more so for right-handed shooters, because all of the ones I've seen so far, unless I'm mistaken, there may well be other ones, is that as you flick it out of the way, it takes out your sight picture, which is a bit of a bugger, frankly. So it's interesting to see what it's like. So I'm going to try with the Eotech magnifier and see how that compares with 3 times rather than 3.5 times. But my gut feeling is it would be exactly the same. Which is a shame, because the Aimpoint dot works well, and a magnifier longer distance does make some sense. But if it takes up that much picture and it's too slow to do it, it's not going to be the best one for us. Good bit of kit though. I certainly think the Samson's a nicely built bit of kit, and it's one of quick release mounts is quite good. But again, not very easy. Here's the angle here. Just see that there is just the mechanism. It's not easy to get into to do it quickly, and if you're basically sitting like here and shooting and you want to go off, I've got to find it. Back on is quite quick, but in terms of finding it to come off, it's not quick. Although I can imagine with a bit of practice and a bit of adjustment you may be able to do it. So that's the Samson magnifier with the dot. Let's try the Eotech one and see how they compare, and then we're going to look at some of the holographic sights and how they compare. Right, so I fitted the Eotech Holo sight, which, as I said, is not a red dot, it's a holographic sight, which when you can see inside you have a reticle, not a dot, that enables you to have different holdover points onto it. This one is their new one, not been seen in UK before, as far as I'm aware, and it's a very neat and tight fit, and it's a nice low mount position, so that means I can actually, right-handed, get onto it very, very easily, and my hand isn't obscuring it at all because I run a over grip stance. It's very comfortable, and dare I say it, it's got an attractive looking sight to sit on a gun, but more importantly, how does it shoot? You know, it's pretty good. I'm used to the holographic sight from the Eotech from the shotgun days, and the beauty about it is that you're able to full sight picture, very little interference from the lack of shield around the side of this, And in terms of actually functioning shooting, it's very quick in terms of maneuverability onto sights, onto the pictures. However, I'm shooting at 50 metres now, and from a distance-wise, that's fine. I'm quite comfortable with that. But at 100 metres, that's going to be a fairly big old dot, which we'll do later on in testing. But the hope is, with the different reticle and the different points you can see throughout, I can have a different holdover using the same reticle each point. Now, this is already designed to do this for 5.56 military NATO rounds, so we're sort of abusing it a bit, trying to use on 2.2, but we're doing shorter distances. So my hope is that the same calibration use of 5.56 to use a different calibration points for holdovers, we can use the same for the 2.2 in competition, but time will tell. But in terms of shooting, it's quite fun. Certainly quite impressive, and certainly with and without the magnified type side of it, very good. So, after all that shooting, different distances, what's the conclusion? Well, I'm afraid to say there isn't one. Comparing red dots and holographic sights, I think it really is down to your personal choice. The two do the same job in very different ways. In some regards, your particular eye position may make a difference. Some people having issues with red dots and or holographic sights blurring out, and that's down to a medical position how you are. The two have very different ways of doing the same job. For the benefit of the red dot, it's very precise, especially a very high quality dot like the Aimpoint, whereas the holographic sight gives you a better sight picture. To be able to frame the target and be able to move from frame to frame is quite useful compared to a dot. I don't think there's a right way between them. I think it's down to your personal choice. I've got to say the jury's still out on the magnifier. I think it can be useful in this practice, but really my choice I think now is to see if we can find a way to generate a holdover position with a holographic sight and also with a red dot. I can't help thinking that even up to 100 metres, a dot on its own may well still be better than an optic of some kind. However, that's our next decision. So at the moment, between choice red dot and holographic sight, I'd say either. Certainly go for quality. Both the Eotech and the Aimpoint do their jobs spectacularly well, but they're not the cheapest ones out there, and there are cheaper options we'll look into. Next thing for us to try is going to look for some of the 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to 8 power scopes and see how they fit in with our requirements for practical shooting generally. That'll be next one. We've got 2 or 3 suppliers to try at different price points as well, and that'll be our next test. But for the moment, when it comes to red dots and holographic sights, I think the question is down to personal choice and a lot of practice, and obviously seeing how you can work on holdovers. Hope that was useful. The links to all the respective suppliers should be in the bottom underneath this video in the comments section, but all means do comment. Next one, like I say, will be some optics that we'll go through some testing later on. Thanks for watching. See you again. Cheers.